Okay, so we are going to have a panel discussion now. Here are our esteemed panelists, and the panel topic is, or the title is, Nordic Countries and the Changing Topology of the Internet. And basically the idea is that Nordic countries, and especially Finland, have always been sort of at the edge of whatever map there's been, a political map, geographical map, topological internet map, whatever. Finland and the Nordics have always been at one corner or edge or something. But with recent data center and sea cable and other developments in the region, we are edging away from the corner and toward the center. It's optimistic, of course, a little bit to say this at this point, but there's movement. And so basically, this is the topic for this panel discussion. And first off, I guess I'll let all the 5 esteemed panelists introduce themselves.
Yes, good afternoon. My name is Aki Uljas, and I've been doing business development for Cinia for the last 5 years. Went to Cinia to build the new subsea cable from Helsinki to Rostock in Germany. And now fully focusing on the Northeast Passage cable, what we call Arctic Connect. Oksa asked us that we should let you know that why we are here. I honestly do not know, but but maybe that we are former colleagues with Oksa, and I think 10% of the people here I have worked together with in the past. But I've been last years I've been trying to make Finland a better place in the data center side and now the submarine cable side.
Hi everybody, my name is Kaj Kjellgren, and I'm coming from Netnod, or Netnod to be more exact. Well, the reason I'm here, I suppose, is because we have kind of a big exchange now covering more and more of the Nordics, and we have recently also started doing transportation between our sites and are exactly now interconnecting the IX in Copenhagen, which is also interconnected to Malmö, up to Stockholm, and then also over to Oslo, and we can provide service there between those with transportation. And also we have an optical network inside these areas where we can interconnect the different data centers in Stockholm and in Copenhagen. And a bit more about me. I've been working for Netnod since 2002, which makes me basically the 3rd longest employee in Netnod right now. And before that, I was working for KPN Quest. So I've been in this for quite a while, but now it's actually interesting to see, just as Aleksi said, that the Nordics are gaining momentum for sure, with more data centers and also more connectivity coming to the Nordics, which I suppose we're going to discuss a lot more.
Hi, I'm Reid Fishler from Hurricane Electric, and I'm the token American. Oh, wait. You knew we had to show up. I build Hurricane Electric's network, and I'm here because we've been in Finland for many years, trying to get to Tampere for a while, but I also have built the network throughout the Nordics and, well, 6 continents. So I'm just here to be the backbone guy, I guess. So, thanks.
Okay, hello, my name is Joonas Terhivuo. I come from Hetzner, Finland. Hetzner is offering web hosting and data center services. Hetzner Online, which owns Hetzner Finland, 100% leased, based from Germany, and we have 2 data center parks there, and now the data center park what we are building in Tuusula, which is called Data Center Park Helsinki, obviously, in Tuusula. It's first data center park what Hetzner has outside Germany. Last year, first data center in Tuusula did go in production, and now this month the third data center is going to go in production. So growing all the time, which is of course positive. Maybe I bring some view from data center side, or then they couldn't find anyone else and I'm here.
Hey everybody, I'm Antti Oksa from Equinix. I'm more or less covering our business development department here, which they couldn't travel to Tampere this year. But I've been helping them almost weekly to bring new big content providers and hyperscalers to our Helsinki data centers. We have 6, well it depends if you count our 7th data center. We closed down one this year earlier, but we have 6 data center in Helsinki area. And yeah, if you don't know, we are a global data center provider, so usually our customers have footprints in every continent in the world, and which makes for them easier to deploy if they are present already in the United States or APAC. So now they want to deploy in Helsinki. So we are kind of an easy solution for them because they have already know how we work and how they should deploy at us.
Okay, keep the microphone, hand it over to each other when somebody else wants to speak, and I'll speak into this one. Reid, we had a similar panel discussion 4 or 5 years ago, and Reid was also on that one, the token American on that one. And now he's returning, and yeah, I guess if I would characterize the roles of the panelists, there's a cable provider, exchange point operator, network service provider, hosting provider, and facilities provider, I guess. So it's a diverse view and also pretty international. There's only one Finnish company, basically, if you think of ownership. All the others are international companies, although there are 3 Finns. Okay, and I'll also put a map up there. I'm not sure if it's going to become useful, but at least it's something pretty to look at. Let me just look at my notes. Okay, so first off, I thought, could you describe, in your view, some of the most recent developments? Like Hetzner already told about their new data centers, and you already did cover some of that. But if there's something you think that, whether it's yours or somebody else's, what new has there been recently?
Okay, I can start as I have the mic here, but I think from our perspective, maybe the latest have been the ever-growing interest of the big hyperscalers in Finland and of course in Helsinki area in this case. But yeah, we've seen quite a lot of questions around how to connect in Helsinki area, for example, from our data center to some other facilities in the area, and we're trying to solve these issues. And of course, the Cinia's cable also has gained some to Frankfurt, has gained some interest because the other end happens. One of the other ends happens to be in our facilities. So we are now actually ourselves starting to use that too. I have been using it for a while, and then also, well, that's the biggest one. Is the one that at last also the big players start to be interested in Helsinki, and not just Hurricane and a couple of the others. And then now also the content players too.
Content kings.
Exactly.
Anyone else want to say?
In data center business, I think in Finland, maybe it's not correct to say a lot of is happening, but it's happening all the time, positive things, and I can see data is increasing all the time. This is never endless story all the time. More and more data comes, and the data centers gets bigger and bigger. Of course, in the future there might be also come these edge data centers or some smaller ones, but still the big ones behind that gets all the time bigger and bigger. And I think we can see Equinix is expanding. We are expanding and growing all the time, and I think it's really positive to see that also the Finnish companies like Ficolo announced now that they bought part from the Fujitsu and they are going to build data center there, and Telia did build data center last year. So I think a lot of things is happening in Finland, but could be much more if we look at the Nordics. I think in the Nordics, Sweden and Denmark, there is happening also a lot. So, but from the data center business, all the case studies and market shows that it's growing all the time really fast, and I can see data is coming more and more, and of course this brings that the more services are coming, these 5G and IoT and everything, so then the latency comes more and more important, which comes to, I think, maybe Cinia or Hurricane Electric will tell something more about this.
Would you say that it took a while for the floodgates to open, but now they are opening?
Yeah, you could say that.
I would come a little bit differently at this and say that it always used to be to us, and I'm going to generalize as Americans before I'll say hurricane. We miscategorize the Nordics as Scandinavia. I know it's wrong, but we all do. And Scandinavia was Stockholm, and that was all Scandinavia was. Nobody in the US even knew that there were basically 3 countries up here.
4.
Well, yes, okay. But I'm counting. You know what I'm getting at is the fact is that now Norway is becoming much bigger with the landings of the Facebook cable and some of the other stuff happening over there. And what we see over here in Finland is this is the gateway to Tallinn, Vilnius, Riga, and the difference that we have between when I was here 4 years ago, where I'm going to say probably, I'm 90% sure on this, this was a 10 gig leaf off of Stockholm. Now this is part of a 200 or 300 gig ring that goes between basically Stockholm, Frankfurt, Warsaw, and Helsinki, all the way up and around. So Helsinki has become much more of a hub city. I wouldn't say it's towards the center, I would say that it's on the edge, because of your neighbor to the east. However, I would say that it's definitely more into the mesh than it was a leaf and sort of an afterthought. And that is what I think is bringing things in here. The other thing that I think is even an afterthought, wasn't even a thought before, and is now at least an afterthought, is what comes after Helsinki. Because people are realizing that, hey, just like there's Oslo and Stavanger and there's well, Stockholm is just the gravity of it all, but there's other places in Finland, and that is something that I think when we do this again in 4 years, we may be talking about having 3 or 4 pops in each country.
Before I let the microphone wander off, can you show on the map for people who don't know where the Facebook cable is going to be?
I know that it's forking and it's going half to Stavanger and half to. Yeah, it's. I know that. I know one of them is going to Stavanger over there-ish, and another pair is going to hop somewhere. I think it's is another pair hopping off. Oh, go ahead. Go ahead.
I'm sorry. I can give you a bit more perspective from the west side of the Scandinavia, because, well, that's where I work. And we also see, exactly as already said, there's coming more data centers to both Sweden, Norway, and Denmark. And it's also from like the big 5 or 6 usual suspects who are building them. And the Havfrue cable, the Mermaid, Little Mermaid, is the cable you call the Facebook cable, and everybody call it. I think it's Facebook, Google, Aquacom, and Bulk who is building this as a consortium, and it goes from New Jersey and then to Stavanger, as you said, but it also goes via Ireland and to on the edge here out on Denmark. And it's not that it jumps from all the places, it's actually splitting up. So you get a lot of dedicated capacity to all of these places. And apparently, if I read the press release right, you're going to get serious capacity. And that's also going to cut down the round trip times quite a lot to the Nordics. So that is definitely a positive development. But this is also to feed all the data centers that are popping up here. It's dearly needed. And I think it was you who said that, was it 4 years ago on this panel, that what's needed is having a dedicated link to the US basically, or it would help a lot.
Yeah, people needed to think about.
Give the mic to
I think I said 4 years ago that having a data center wasn't the thing that was needed. It was having connectivity, because anybody could build a data center, but you needed to have connectivity and a data center. I remember Fire Ice was here, I think, and that was the topic, because they were building everything, but there was no way to get there.
Yeah, well, I think of course, the recent, well, not so recent development, 3 years ago, we finalized the sea lion cable. Other cable systems are also in the planning mode in the Gulf of Bothnia. There are ideas of building new connectivity there. I think one of the biggest impact, like it was stated already, is the half-through cable into the whole market, and I think we are also seeing benefits in the Sea Lion from that cable system. Then I think most of the data centers were already mentioned, and I think, well, it's a good example as well how Netnod has been growing in Luleå and then now Copenhagen and Oslo, or in Norway in general. And I think this is what we actually also need, is and I have to say bluntly that what Finland is lacking is active exchange point. Like Reid said, it's not just about data centers. It's about connectivity and creating the ecosystem around here. So, but yeah, a lot of interesting development. I think Sweden is getting still the momentum on that, but I think things are changing quite rapidly at the moment.
And that's what I thought I'd actually ask next. What else is changing in the environment? One thing that I've noticed this winter and this spring, for example, is Moscow is opening up to peering for internationals, which is a huge change. And DECIX from Germany, Frankfurt, is already sort of in the mix somehow in Moscow. And the other thing that is gathering momentum but hasn't, I guess, started building yet is the what's it, Koillisväylä kabeli. What's that in English? Arctic Connect, yeah. So if you could, in your own words, describe what else is changing in the environment.
What is changing in the environment? I think what I want to change in the environment is definitely it's the Arctic Connect, because that has tremendous impact on the whole Nordic countries. The cable is planning to land in totally different part of the world that they are normally landing. So, but if you look at the globe, it's like turning it upside down. So right now, all the Asia-Europe cables are landing in Marseille, and I hope that Kirkenes can be in Norway, can be the new Marseille. But landing there, that has a tremendous opportunity, because then that requires that we need to enhance the terrestrial cable system. It can open up a totally new cities and locations where a lot of things are happening. Of course, there's a regional development aspect there as well. But yeah, at the moment, 99% of the all internet traffic or data traffic is going through these subsea cables. 10, 20 years ago, I have had really limited knowledge on those. But then I think the more and more data centers are growing. 5 years ago, we were expecting these mega data centers to arrive in Finland, and there was a lot of discussion. Luckily, at that point, Cinia was able to partly Cinia was able to attract Hetzner here, which was also one of the first partners in the Sea Lion cable. But I think, yeah, like Reid as well said, I think the business is also moving not only to Helsinki and Tampere, but I think there's starting to be business elsewhere as well. I think many years we have been focusing on localizing everything in Helsinki, but I think it's now maybe time to look at it a little bit differently, especially because of the Arctic cable.
Kajaani is also a very big center of activity in data centers right now, and it's pretty north.
Yeah, a bit another perspective on what's changing a bit, I would say, is also, just as you said, it's getting more spread out, everything. There is always gravity to some points, and for Sweden it's Stockholm for sure. And that's not only for the exchange point, it's also how the operators build their networks. So they often build their hub in Stockholm, and then they basically backhaul everything there, which is maybe a good idea if you look at it from a cost perspective. But for redundancy and resiliency, it's not very optimal, to put it mildly. And this is something that is gaining more and more focus right now, to again try to spread it out and to make it more resilient. And this is both something that I would say governments in the Nordic area are starting to push more and more, I would say, and also the operators themselves. So we are going to see changes with traffic getting more diversified and also a bit more spread out. And this is, in my perspective, very, very positive. So,
I'd like to add an anecdote about when you said that some or many operators build their networks in a hub and spoke manner, and tie that with DNA's earlier IPv6 presentation. So I've got a DNA SIM in one of my phones, and it's been IPv6 enabled for 5 years or something. And if I make a trace route from it to, say, Stockholm, using IPv4, my traffic first goes eastward to where the closest NAT CGN box is, and then it goes to Helsinki, and then it goes to Stockholm. If I use IPv6, it goes straight to Turku Åbo and then across the sea cable from there. So, yeah.
Yeah, there are quite a lot of examples of this, but yeah, we all know what needs to be done, basically. So,
yeah, more mesh.
I think mostly I addressed the question that you had in my first little anecdote. I would tend to say that what is happening is a healthy growth of the network. And by the network, I mean the internet. And the only thing that I would say is the growth that we see is definitely south rather than east out of here. I think really what we're seeing is Riga, Vilnius, and Tallinn are where Helsinki was 5 years ago, 4 years ago. And Helsinki is much more of a hub for that because Stockholm is not. Stockholm serves as a hub to the Nordics, whereas Helsinki serves as a hub to the Baltics. So that is the only other thing that I would sort of put out there. Not that there's any problem with that, but I certainly don't see Helsinki as being a hub for Russia, as Russia can handle its own hubbing as their laws already sort of decreed.
If you look at the data center side, that usually everybody is saying that data center don't need to be in the big cities or there, but if you look at, I think 90% of the data centers are still built near Helsinki or near big city. It doesn't matter if it's Frankfurt or Amsterdam, and I think that's also something in our mind. If we think about, for example, co-location, I'm a company who is taking servers somewhere else inside the Finland. Still, they want that the servers are close to them, but actually it doesn't matter. I have many times heard from some examples. One data center company has data center in Pori, but many customers in Helsinki think that Pori is too far. But actually it doesn't matter anything. If you put the servers there from latency side, you can't see any difference. But that's still on our mind, and I think maybe that's going to change, but only thing what I see the change is with the big players, but that's because they can invest so much that, like Facebook is now bringing own cables and everything, so that's way how they fix the connectivity. But hopefully Helsinki will change this kind of hub place, but yeah, at the moment it's not looking so good. If you look at how many ISPs are in physics, there's like 30, but when you look at from Amsterdam, the list is endless.
Hundreds.
So yeah, so maybe this kind of Arctic Connect cable or something, that would be kind of the boom, because then we could be the gateway to Asia and Europe, and not only the Baltics anymore. And of course Asia is really interesting for Europe and otherwise also. So when the Asian companies want to come to Europe, then maybe Finland, Helsinki will be the stop place.
Yeah, well, how I have seen it within our company, it's of course more focused in where we operate and not seeing from elsewhere. But yeah, definitely seen the need to kind of, or the lack of the, just like for peering. Well, Finland has always been, but how I've seen it, that there haven't been too many. The PNI has been always, the private interconnection has been the more efficient way of the big players to exchange traffic rather than exchanging them on IXCs, and that's kind of prevented from the IXCs to grow too much. So I think the way physics is doing it at the moment, bringing prices down, it's very interesting to see how it affects that. And also, when at the same time, we're managing to bring all the bigger players in, and if they usually are really happy to pair with almost with everybody. So that together with the low prices might actually start working towards getting the hubs in Finland, and of course first in Helsinki, maybe later elsewhere too in Finland, to grow. And when the first the content is there, and then the eyeballs are more interested to be there, and then of course then the smaller ones also, it's worth them, as the previous Hurricane presentation told how the peering works. So if there's some use cases for smaller companies or to go there, not necessarily for the traffic levels itself, but if they can make latency smaller and all that, so yeah, all that might come together.
Well, with that in mind, and I respect if you don't want to answer, but has there been talk at Equinix about building something outside Helsinki?
Well, to be honest, I haven't heard about such things, but that might, I'm still a network engineer in my day job, so it might be that there have been such talks, but I just haven't heard about those.
Right. Okay. Next up, I'd like to, because we've heard about all these positive developments, there's a lot of promise and a lot of hustle and bustle, but what do we need to do to make the most out of it? What are some missing crucial pieces or innovations or whatever? Is there something we aren't doing yet that we should be doing?
Well, one thing I just briefly discussed with Reid and these guys before this was the, like in Finland and in Helsinki area, particularly the cross connects and the fiber pricing between buildings and operators and all this is really expensive, and really, if you compare it to like Amsterdam and all these developed metros where you can have a dark fiber pair between inside a metro for like 300 euros, and try to do that in Helsinki area or anywhere in Finland, it's might be possible somewhere, but generally that is the tricky part. So yeah, I think there's some development there would be nice to see happening.
I would shortly say that maybe this kind of Arctic connection would be the main thing, because that way we can attract the small players, the big players, and that way the ecosystem start to grow and everything else comes also there then.
Being that I was involved in that conversation, I will certainly echo that dark fiber here in Finland is problematic, to put it lightly. But I'd also say that the other problem that exists out here is that there's a lack of publicly available fiber. And I don't mean that I want to buy dark fiber between cities, but I have talked to many international carriers to buy large amounts of capacity, and nobody has capacity outside of Helsinki, if they're in Helsinki at all. So the only way to get inside of Finland other than Helsinki is with a regional provider. And there's no problem with that, because there are some regional providers that are a pleasure to work with. However, if you look at somebody who may be coming in, let's just make something up, one of the Chinese carriers, they may be doing a massive, they may RFP a massive European deal, and there's no way that they're going to be able to get to Tampere or anywhere other than Helsinki with one of the carriers you know.
Except Telia, maybe.
Well, even Telia doesn't. Even Telia will not quote. They have their little idiosyncrasies inside of Sweden and Finland about carrier quoting inside of other cities. So even Telia is a problem as for availability. So it's something that you should be worked on, just because there's a lack. Even though there's glass in the ground, there's a lack of glass in the ground.
Yeah, we have the same problem in Sweden, I would say. In the Stockholm area, we have tried to solve it also in Copenhagen, and so far it seems like we're doing the right thing. It's gaining momentum for sure, and I can clearly see that it's needed in other areas as well, and to try to do the same thing, sort of interconnect the different data centers, and make it sort of possible for people to buy capacity between them. That's the whole idea we're doing in Stockholm and Copenhagen. And I mean, as long as people are on, say, Equinix only, then I'm sure Equinix can figure something out. But if you have customers trying to set up a P&I between Equinix and Interaction, then you all of a sudden run into a problem, because you need to have somebody who is not affiliated with one of the two and still is neutral enough to be able to provide that. So yeah, I would say that is a way forward.
Yeah, I might piss few people off by stating these things, but I think the connectivity issues we have created that pretty much by ourselves, not putting enough fiber in the ground and not willing to sell it to other operators. We were maybe a little bit too focused on trying to provide capacity services on that. Also, I would have to counter argue that Arctic Connect would solve all our issues. I think this is a mental problem not a mental problem, but it's a problem with the Finnish mentality, that we always trying to find reasons why we are not able to succeed of getting the data centers, getting the connectivity here. I think we just need to do it. It was in the past when we were discussing about these mega scale data centers, we said that we're lacking connectivity, direct connectivity into Europe. Then we built a sea lion cable. Then we started saying that, yeah, the taxation is wrong. And I think now we are waiting for the Arctic Connect. But I think it might be time that we start doing the work needed. So doing the actual sales work and try to attract the people. The current exchanges, they are good. They are all very operational. But how to attract the people to connect in those exchanges? That is the vital point. How to create the ecosystem, because the value, like Susan you were talking about the value of peering, but I would talk about value of the exchange point. I think decreasing the prices on the ports, it's a saying that the exchange doesn't have value. Sorry to say that, but I think 36, we have more than 300 AS numbers in Finland. I've been talking about this for the last 10 years and complaining, but and still keep ranting. But you have more than 800 AS numbers in Sweden, and if you look at the size, well, it's 3 times the amount of AS numbers in Sweden. You have also 3 times the population of Finland. But if you look at the numbers in the AS numbers in Netnod, that's totally different. We should look at what are the guys we want here, not just the data centers, but the connectivity providers, and offer them something. And I think that something to offer is not just the operators, it's also the businesses. Because the 300 AS numbers, it doesn't come from the operator side, it's also businesses. How to get them connected, they are mostly single home at the moment. So I think there is a lot of work that needs to be done, and I think we need to dig more fiber on the ground, especially now when the Arctic Connect is happening. We need throughout Finland, we need a lot more fiber, and fiber should be available.
I've actually been neglecting one part of the panel, which is the audience. So have you guys have any ideas or thoughts that you'd like to share or ask anything? Let's see. Catch box, please. Oops. Okay, so.
Maybe not. No. Hi, Fergus Mackay, Flex Optics, Links members. Links members set the port prices. You know, it's the membership that's driving the price down, not the organization, not external things. It's membership that want to see lower port prices because they see the value, but it's a line item, you know.
Yeah, yeah, I totally agree. It is, but then, I think then the members don't, like you said, they don't see the value. So there's, they would like to see more peers attending that.
I don't mean to be rude, but that sounds like the Dave Temkin Netflix cocktail parties comment. Sorry.
Anyone else have anything to add or ask? There we are.
Yes, Ari Saloma from Adva. Hi. A little bit different direction of a question. Now, there's a lot of talk about the climate change and our energy consumption and so on. Been thinking about that in the Nordics, it means whenever we have energy used in a data center, it's actually wasted, but we could use the warmth somehow. So the question is, should we not have all the data centers under Helsinki and under Tampere and under Oulu and use the heat? Do you see the energy discussion changing somehow, the data center thinking?
Well, answer for Sweden first.
Yeah, that's a very good point. I know that several data centers are now actually using the heat to heat up the cities. So they work together with the community, and also they use to heat water that's then pumped around in the communities. What do you call it? Well, the heating system that's fjärrvärme.
District heating.
District heating. Yeah. So it's happening, and I really hope they do it a lot more. And I know also there's some companies working with it here in Finland, right?
Anyone else want to take that?
Yes, of course. I think also we should data centers should use the green energy, and I think most of the big players and other ones are using green energy, and then there is also possibilities to use the waste energy and put it in the district heating system. But I think, was it 1 week or 2 weeks ago, I heard this new foundation in Finland called Compensate Foundation, which gives the customer the response. Do they want, when they are buying something, they need to maybe pay some extra cents or something, or for example, when they buy flight tickets from Helsinki to New York, then they might choose that I want to pay €50 extra, and that €50 goes to this Compensate Foundation, and it goes straight to that they plant trees or something like that, which take the emissions from there. And I think, of course, using the waste heat and that, but this kind of to give the responsibility to the customers, I think that's kind of is the answer how we can hopefully stop the climate change.
Or at least slow down.
Yeah, I think I'm not the best person in our company to answer on that. I know that we have done that in Helsinki area with some of the data centers. I'm not sure about the latest. I know we kind of have all the stamps in right places, whether we try to be the greener all the time. And about the district heating, not sure about the latest ones. I guess this is only my guess, but it's all because it needs quite close relationships with the power companies and the cooling, how the cooling is done, how the resiliency has been provided to a data center, and previously the resiliency part and the redundancy part on that side has not been maybe sufficient enough in every case, so it's the difficulties might come there also. Of course, yeah, there are better people in our company to tell about the details, how they're currently building those systems.
Well, I'd like to add that there's now an association in Finland called the Finnish Data Center Forum, or they've been around for 5 years now, I guess. And a lot of the panelists work for companies who are already members of it, and Google and Yandex are active there as well, and many of the other relevant players. There's some brochures about it at the front if you want to get to know it more. But the point is that they've already had this energy reuse or waste heat reuse on their agenda for like 3 years running, and many of the big players are very committed to this initiative. They are also trying to standardize the stuff in ISO, the International Standardization Organization, or some of the other electrical organization standardization organizations. So they are also trying to, because one of the big problems about this is if you do it, you can brag about it in like news releases, but then if somebody starts to compare different data centers, which is better, because that's at some point someone will, you need standardized metrics for that. So they are also working at the standardization organizations. So and they need your support.
Yeah, I definitely know that calculating PUE is a bit difficult when if you're giving some of the energy back to the community. So it's kind of basically negative PUE, but how do you calculate it exactly? That's a thing, because that's one of the key metrics those data center guys are following.
And do you count lighting or not? That sort of stuff. Well, there was one more question. So the point was that I had written is what is useful and what is not useful about what's going on right now. So maybe this is a bit controversial, or could be controversial, but do you, if anyone, just raise your hand if you have some idea of what you would categorize under these two headings.
This is useful. I don't have this in 90% of the countries that I'm in. So just the fact that there are enough people in this room to, I can't say play baseball twice because that doesn't work here, but
We do have baseball, but it's different rules.
okay.
Someone will tell you about it in the sauna.
Just the fact that there are enough people here and networks represented to have this conversation means a lot more than a lot of the places where we are. So that, I think, is progress, and it's progress more than many of the other. I don't think there's an event anywhere in the Baltics. I don't think there's an event in most of the Western European countries. And if there are, they're just little micro events for the cities or the exchanges. There is no event for Italy. There's no event for, heck, I don't even really think there's an event left for Germany. There's an event for each DECX exchange, but I don't think there's a German event. Is there one?
DE-Nog.
DNOG.
DNOG, ITNOG, certainly DKNOG in Copenhagen.
CCC?
CCC
It's a bit
CCC
different,
is
but
not really network.
yeah.
Yeah, CCC is.
But certainly Italy, Denmark, and Germany all have standalone nodes.
Well, I view this event as, even though this is the first year it's a NOG, I view this as more of a network forum, not a technical NOG. Even though this year it has become a little bit more of a technical NOG. It is more of the fact that you're able to get to everybody here between this and the event next week or the week after, whenever it is, what used to be ICU and whatever it's being called now, Helsinki Summit, is more in Finland than is CNX was a great example of what used to be in Germany and disappeared. So there's more happening in Finland than there is in any of those other countries. Not any, most.
Well, at least I can remind you about Nog, who is next Monday in Oslo.
Week Monday.
Sorry? Yeah, next. Yeah, not this Monday, the next one. Yeah, I'm going to be there, by the way, so see you there. And then we also have the Netnod days, which is basically a bit of the Swedish counterpart to this. And it's the Netnod customer days for sure, but I mean, everybody is welcome who is doing business in Sweden, and they usually turn up there. So, and of course, we would look very positive on having a Swenog, which is also in the startup, I know. So it's yeah. Exactly, that's it. So yes, there are a lot of Nogs-ish around, all those pure Nogs, as you said. So yeah.
Yeah, I can actually second that, and I do like the idea of having this under this kind of a NOG brand. So because Finland is a really small country, so we need to work together, and it's really fantastic to see that we have also international audience here, of course, yeah, in Helsinki Summit as well. But I think that's a definitely totally different audience. I think that has really little to do with the network or engineering side and technology side. It's more business event. But yeah, I'm actually quite happy, and of course, since I was born here, so it's nice to come here. It's a 22-minute drive to my old home. So, but yeah, this like Reid also said, yeah, connecting and networking with each other. I think that's the super important, and creating this kind of audience also attracts other people, and that's what we need.
Part of the reason for the nog.fi name change also was that already before last year's event, both Equinix and Netnod had voiced ideas that they might take a similar role as physics and TREX in the event. And again, this year there was that discussion. Things didn't really pan out, but I'm still happy that both are at least attending so that we can build on this. So maybe next year there'll be something else. But yeah, Finland was lacking a NOG event where every other country nearby seemed to have one. And there was also a Nornog in Sweden for a while that was sort of the whole Nordic umbrella. But I guess we've rambled on already quite a lot, unless somebody still wants to say something. Thank you, panelists. Give them a very big hand. I guess a lot of the panelists are staying at least for dinner, maybe sauna. So I'm hoping that this sparks discussion even later. And the next part of the program will also be discussion sparking programming. So it's going to be the lightning talk session. I'll move the chairs away and Fergus will take the chair.